you're running to be a counselor.
That's correct.
How's the response been in the campaigning?
Well, yeah. So for the viewers that don't know, I was a Conservative for quite a while. I was Conservative Party member for about a year and a half ish, but I philosophically was Conservative pretty much my whole life. Um, and a few months ago, I made a big decision to defect to Reform because I didn't like the direction that the Conservative Party was going in. We were becoming increasingly liberal, very sort of woke and lefty, and we were losing touch with our common values that we had. Representing the silent majority was no longer something that the Conservatives did. But since I've made the change and I've been campaigning in my ward of Waterbury, Buckingham Park and Berryfields in Buckinghamshire, we've got some terrific responses. People feel like there's a strong voice representing them. People feel like, there's actually a champion for common values now. And so, yeah, the response has been brilliant and I'm enjoying every moment of it.
I feel like reform is extremely popular in parts of England, outside of London, especially nowadays. What's the reason reform is not doing so well in London, particularly?
Well, I think at the moment they've got a lot of problems. We've got a rising crime, knife crime, and social behaviour and things like that. The mayor, on the other hand, Sadiq Khan, is a big demographic thing, I think. He represents a large proportion of the Muslim vote, and sometimes that vote is not very easily influenced by things like political phenomenon. It's purely religion and what's going on in the Middle East. And I think he takes full advantage of that. He's supposed to be a Muslim representative that's, representing strong religious values, but has no problem going on gay pride marches and things like that, which directly contradicts the religion. So it's finding that strange balance that I think voters are having a big issue with in London. But I think that there's definitely a cultural shift happening if you look not just around the country, but also in the capital city as well. The last time I was here, me and my campaign manager, we were walking to a fish and chip shop and some young man stopped and said, "Oh, you're from Reform, aren't you?" And he asked to take a picture with me, and I'm just running as a councillor, but it goes to show that reach that we have across the political spectrum, across social media. So I think, yeah, there's a change coming, especially in our capital cities, especially in places like Birmingham. Nobody would think that Reform would do well in Birmingham, but, we're becoming increasingly popular. We're holding our conference there on the 28th of March at the end of the month. So we should see how it goes.
Interesting. So people are starting to recognize you.
Mm, absolutely. And I think it's not just a me thing. It's just having somebody that fights and stands up for people's values and hardworking people. And I think that's where our country's going.
Well, tell me more of what was your motivation in going into politics initially as a conservative, now as a Reform Party member.
I mean, for those that don't know, I often tell this story because it's one that I think is just very commonly British, which is my mum had me when she was 18 years old. She's younger than I am now when she had her first child, which was me. And she works very, very vigorous hours in a pharmacy, all days of the week just to put food on the table and roof over our heads. And then she met my stepdad, and they both worked tremendously hard climbing the economic ladder. But even after successive promotion and pay rise and things like that, things haven't necessarily got easier for my family, and there hasn't been a government to stand up for them. And so that was my motivation to go into politics, to stand up for people like my family and be the champion and the strong voice that people need. People don't have that now. People have got representatives that care more about what gender that you are and, what skin color you have and what sexual preference you're attracted to. But not people aren't focusing about how you keep more money in your pockets and how you keep taxation low, inflation low, and, have interest rates that benefit everyone. No one's talking about these things. And so that was my motivation going into politics, to represent people like my family.
Let's talk about the dynamics of parties in other countries. And of course, one of the countries that has been very influential and it has always been very influential on the global scheme of things is the US. And there, very recently, Trump has got elected,
Mm.
almost, I think, 2 months in his term. What do you think about Trump? Are you happy with his election?
I am. I think he's a very influential figure, one of the most influential people in our generation and possibly for the best half of a century.
People
There's
are either scared or optimistic that he's going to change so much.
Yes, I mean, I've lost count of how many executive orders he's introduced since he's been in power. But you look at the confidence in which he's leading through, the absolute determination to make a difference. It's nothing short of inspiring in my opinion. Regardless of where you sit on the political agenda, he's done more in 2 months than what Biden did in 4 years. And I think that's really, really important to keep in mind. But yeah, it's a very powerful country, and I think especially here at home, we've got to be more productive in stepping away from America's influence. And I think Europe has to look at that as well and figure out what our relationship with the US is actually going to be like.
I don't think many people are especially optimistic about Trump's term here, especially London, especially big cities. But his relationship with Keir Starmer, especially, has been very interesting over this
Oh, yeah.
past
Yes.
few months because previously Keir Starmer has expressed a lot of criticism about Trump in his early career and so on and so forth. And now he has to deal with him diplomatically. Do you think he's done well in that regard?
I think he's failed miserably. I mean, you look at people like David Lammy who have absolutely berated Trump in the past. Labour said that they were a party waiting to govern, but yet the previous 5 to 10 years before that, all of their shadow cabinet colleagues have been berating members of the Republican Party in the United States, particularly Trump. Elon Musk, for example, Vivek Ramaswamy. These are all people that the most people in the in the cabinet now in government under the Labour Party under Keir Starmer's leadership have belittled and berated senior government officials in Trump's administration. So no, I don't think they've diplomatically succeeded at all. I think they've failed miserably. They've got involved in, criticizing foreign politics. And when it comes back to bite them, they don't like it. And I think that's down to them and only them. They need to take responsibility for it.
So, what could Keir Starmer have improved in comparison to what he has done right now in negotiations with Trump? Because just to be clear, many people do think that despite that clear hatred that um, the leader of the Labour Party now has towards Trump, have had for a very long time, he was successful in trying to cover that and step aside from that and just concentrate on the diplomatic relationship. So many people I know, certainly the majority of people, I feel like, find that he's been able to deal with the situation pretty well.
Well, he's a world leader, so it's his job to be diplomatic, or to try at least to be diplomatic with other world leaders. And I think if you're looking at his approach to Trump, it was basically to go there and kiss his backside for a couple of hours. And Keir Starmer was an absolute push around, so I think I should imagine he was quite good at that. But if you look at the actual determination to make any credible trade deal or anything like that with the US, I don't think the UK is the senior partner in that relationship. We are the very, very junior partner because of the position that our Prime Minister has put us in. We're now at a very, very strong disadvantage when it comes to the US, when it comes to China, when it comes to Russia, and all of our key threats and all of our key adversaries. We're at a massive disadvantage now, and that's purely down to leadership. And also, not just Keir Starmer, but that's also because of the leadership under Rishi Sunak, under Liz Truss, and the absolute, shambles that we've displayed ourselves as a nation over the last 2 decades, I think. And so, yeah, we're in a very, very difficult stage where we're not the great, powerful nation we once were. And so we've got to scale back and try and put ourselves in that position again.
As the US is trying to limit their uh, influence and especially military help that they're providing to different countries, um, it's quite interesting to find out what is UK will be looking to get from the relationship with the US. Is that going to be trade deals or
Well, we have to figure out what that is first. I think, yeah, the major problem at the moment is that we don't actually know what the West's main goal is. We don't know what the vision is. We don't know where we're going. What is it? Is it economic prosperity for everyone? Is it prolonging wars in Eastern Europe? Is it, I mean, what is it? What's the direction that the West is heading in? Nobody knows because you've got France's next election, which is looking like it's going to go to Marine Le Pen. You've got the Georgescu in Romania. He's just been banned by Romania for for becoming
when's the
president.
election in France?
I think it's in a couple of years. I think because we've just had one. I think it was last year, I believe. I think there's still a couple of years to go yet, but even so, that's going to be a massive leadership change. You've got Maloney in Italy, got Keir Starmer here, and you've got Trump in the United States. So I don't know what the West's direction is.
People are extremely different.
Yes, all the countries and the values of their leadership are so different that I think it, our destiny is very unclear, and I'm very worried actually that the West is losing a battle within itself as to its direction, its progression, and where it's actually taking itself.